In the late part of March, Girls Planet 999 contestant and former SM Entertainment trainee An Jungmin was having an Instagram live for her fans, and during that live stream, a fan asked her about her plans to debut, if she signed with any agency, if there is anything we should be expecting from her soon. And she shared about how she'd gone for an audition recently where she was told that she is too old to debut in a girl group.
근데 20살 나이 너무 많아. 20살 나이가 너무 많아.
This girl is born in 2004. She is 19 years old international age and 20 years old Korean age. She was told that she is too old to debut in a girl group. Too old to debut in a girl group. Are you freaking kidding me? I don't even understand. I don't know how to comprehend hearing 2004 born and too old. She was literally 19 years old and was told that she's too old to debut in a girl group. And honestly, I'm not surprised. If you look at the top girl groups of the fourth generation, you have NewJeans, who are killing it, but is a group comprised of all minors. Then you have Baby Monster, that is apparently supposed to be fifth generation. It's already considered the leading group of fifth generation and hasn't even debuted. Has one of 7 members who is 20. She will be turning 21 next month. And all of the others are 17 and below, with the youngest at the time of her member announcement being 13 years old. This whole situation is just so messed up that we have normalized this, and we only talk about NewJeans and Baby Monster, but let's talk about the other groups. Let's talk about IVE. When IVE debuted, Lisa was only 14. Let's talk about LE SSERAFIM. Eunchae is literally 15 years old. She is a child by all definitions of the word, and is still expected to do what bold concepts like LE SSERAFIM does. There was recently a whole conversation about how the choreography for Unforgiven is so inappropriate for a 15-year-old to be performing without, having any autonomy in any of the processes that are going on behind the scenes. There is literally news right now circulating about deep fakes of NewJeans member Heron, who is 14 if I'm not mistaken, and people have made deep fakes of her using nude models. I don't know how to explain this to someone who doesn't understand that this is a problem, because there are lots of people who don't see this as a problem, some of which we will be talking about in the later part of this video. But the exploitation of minors, more so the normalization of said exploitation of minors, is a very important conversation that needs to be had. And there has already been big conversations around this topic happening in South Korea, especially in the legal sector. So much so that there are now new laws that have been passed, a bill that has been passed, that is working towards helping protecting said minors. On April 22nd, an amendment was added to the already existing Popular Culture and Arts Industry Development Act. This amendment would later be known as the Seung Gi Exploitation Prevention Act. It is named after actor Lee Seung Gi, and the act itself is an extreme reaction to the incident that followed him. So the incident goes, he and his entertainment agency, Hook Entertainment, had a contract that resulted in him not getting paid for 18 years of his career. And this act was created in response to that. Now, the act has multiple aspects to it, most of which work towards protecting everyone in the K-pop agency and industry. But there are aspects to this amendment that directly focus on minors. In particular, number 4, which puts age restrictions for minors in K-pop. Let's go through the entire act briefly and then talk about why number 4 is the most important aspect of this act. So number 1, it says that K-pop agencies must disclose their income statements to their idols at least once a year and whenever they ask for it. Number 2, contracts need to include specific details on settlement methods and cost deductions, and details about renewal policies with the company in detail. Age-based restrictions for minors in terms of the amount of hours they can work in the industry. So the law previously said that anyone who was under the age of 15 could only work for 35 hours per week, and anyone who was in the age range between 15 and 18 could only work 40 hours per week. This has now been updated to say anyone who is under the age of 12 years old can work 25 hours per week. That comes up to around 6 hours per day. Anyone between the ages of 12 to 15 can work for 30 hours per week, and that comes up to around 7 hours per day. And anyone who's 15 years and older can work for 35 hours per week. That again comes to around 7 to 8 hours a day. Number 5, it also stops companies from infringing on right to education, meaning that they cannot interfere in an idol's education and cannot stop them from attending schools or force them to drop out of said educational institutions. It also prohibits actions that pose risk to their health, basically coercing them to look better and or making them lose weight, pushing them to get plastic surgery, putting them in any sort of situation that can cause physical and or mental harm to them. And finally, it says if there are companies that have a majority of younger idols, that an appointment of a youth protection officer to help regulate such practices is recommended. Now, if you look at these, this seems like basic requirement, right? This should be the bare minimum that should already exist in an industry like K-pop, but it doesn't. And most people were really happy when this news came out that there are laws like this being put in place to help minors, that there are laws like this that can help young people or even any other person, have a sane time in their job as idols, have the basic human rights needed to go through their entire career. And most people were happy with it. But of course, because this is K-pop and exploitation runs deep within the system, there are a few companies that have refused to partake in this. And honestly, I'm not even sure if they were partaking in these practices to begin with. I mean, if you look at the law previously, the previous section of the law said that artists who are under the age of 15 must work 35 hours a week. Okay, if we're talking about just one person, let's talk about Eunchae from Le Sserafim. I think she's 15. Maybe Korean age makes her older, so if we have to put her in the 15 to 18 category, previously, according to the law, she should only be allowed to work 40 hours per week. And if I'm not mistaken, that is just the amount of time it would take her to do one music bank show. One music bank show throughout the week that she does. She hosts for it. She's an MC for it. That means she has to be there throughout the day that it is shot, and then the next day when it is live broadcasted. I think that makes it 40 hours a day. 40 hours a week. I'm telling you, I don't think these laws are being practiced to begin with. And the fact that there are now objections to these new laws is also kind of concerning. So what happened essentially was a group of a few big K-pop associations put out a statement against this act per se. The associations in question are the Korea Entertainment Producers Association, Korea Entertainment Management Association, Recording Industry Association of Korea, Record Label Industry Association of Korea, and the Korea Music Content Association. These 5 associations have come out and put a public statement saying that they are completely okay with every aspect of the Seung Gi Act and this amendment that has been placed, other than point number 4, which regulates the amount of hours that an idol will work, especially underage idols. In the press release released. Anyway, the 5 organizations maintain that they've always complied with the previous law's restrictions on working hours for teenagers under 15, but say that these additional regulations could cause issues. They said, and I quote, "Additional regulations are unnecessary and will limit the activities of idol groups, which consists of members of various ages. It will weaken the competitiveness of the pop culture industry." That in itself is so infuriating for them to insinuate that if you take care of minors, if you treat them with basic human rights, that is somehow going to lead to the downfall of your industry in totality. This infuriates me so much. But it has always been like this. That's what everyone's response is, right? It has always been like this. They have always had minors in the industry and none of them have complained. That's what most people will say. But all they do is complain. I can't think of a single person who has debuted young and hasn't said that they wish that they would wait a little sooner. This back and forth between the associations and the legal judicial system is probably expected to continue. So I will be updating you in terms of whatever comes through. But from what we know so far, I don't think these laws are going to be practiced, especially the age restriction aspect of it. I don't think it is already being practiced, if I'm being honest. The way things have been working in K-pop and the way these big companies have so much power, I don't think that these laws will be practiced, and I don't think they'll be penalized for it. I thought that was a good step being made, but the way these associations have responded, and these associations are essentially run by some of the top people in the K-pop community. You can be sure that JYP or a Bang Hyuk or anyone else, the big names of K-pop, are parts of these associations and probably share these same sentiments, and that will reflect in the conditions that these idols need to continue to work in. The response to this is just infuriating. The entertainment associations basically said that they want this age limit clause removed and want to have more open dialogue regarding this, but I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I think people in power want to continue to abuse their power, and young, impressionable idols are the easiest for them to manipulate and exploit in this industry. And honestly, I don't think it's stopping anytime soon. I really don't. I wish it was different, but you have new groups that are debuting with younger and younger members, and people are turning a blind eye to it. We're all turning a blind eye to it. We're still listening to New Jeans. We're still talking about them. We're still going to listen to Baby Monster when they debut. We're still going to continue the conversation about it. And these companies are going to continue to make money from it, and it's not going to stop. So they're not going to change their practices. And honestly, that's pretty damn infuriating.